ZSL's vision for the Thames in 2050 is that it will be a global exemplar of a recovered ecosystem. It will be pollution-free, connected across its catchment, and the edge habitats will have been restored to allow it to provide the ecosystem services we so desperately need in the face of climate change. It will support wildlife, and it will boost the economies for people and for their well-being.
I want to see a landscape rich and full of wildlife. I want to see it bigger, better, more joined up. A landscape like the marshes of North and South Kent. Joined up, wet, well-managed landscape with birds, teeming in aquatic species such as water voles and dragonflies, where they all live there alongside us.
A thriving river that we can all enjoy. People, animals and the natural environment come together, and also to be resilient for the changing climate.
The Thames acts as a very essential nursery habitat, so much so that we call it Mother Thames. It's a nursery habitat for fish species, many of which you'll recognise from your plate, such as sea bass and flounder, as well as being important for critically endangered animals, such as the European eel and shark species, and our charismatic residents, such as the harbour seal and seahorses. All of these animals come to the Thames to have their young.
Species, birds for instance, but a whole range of species have been using this for millennia. The Thames has been here as a guide for migrating birds, a home for wintering black-tailed godwits as we might see here in Holehaven Creek. But it's so important. We've got short-snouted seahorses here. We've got harbour porpoises and seals, things that you just don't expect in the Thames. It is extremely rich in wildlife and extremely important, but it isn't just to the boundaries and the sea walls, it's the landscape beyond as well.
The Thames is a unique environment with lots of designations for many invertebrates and plants, and really is special from a scientific point of view. We also have seen lots of mammals, porpoises and seals recently, which is great because previously it was declared dead, many years ago. So we've seen lots of improvement in the quality and quantity of the river.
There are several major opportunities for improving the habitats along the Thames by 2050. Two key ones which we see are data. Never have we been more informed about the state and quality of the Thames and its habitats. The second is buy-in. People have never been more informed or aware of climate change. These differences are making people want to act, and understanding that the natural environment is where the protection lies. People, communities, organisations want to make these differences to the natural environment, and we need to be working with them so that these changes can be made for the future.
So I think there's great opportunity for us, but we've got to be joined up in our thinking. It will need a clear vision. We've got beneficial use of dredgings. Canby Wick is a great example of that. The dredgings from the Thames built this site up and made it what it is today, one of the most important sites for invertebrates in the country. But then we've got to get the local nature recovery strategy all in place. We've got beneficial use of dredgings. We've got carbon offsetting. We've got biodiversity net gain. We've got to pull all these things together and make them work for nature.
So the major improvement will be when the Thames Tideway Tunnel is completed in a couple of years' time. The water quality will significantly improve, which is really great, and will help increase the biodiversity within the river even further than it is now. But there's also a lot of development taking place, and that's an amazing opportunity to make the most of the river and use it to improve mental health, as well as use for cooling in these hot times.
The key things that need to be done so that we can really make changes on the river are restore habitats, restore species, and restore the river's health by removing pollution. But we also need to communicate what we're doing and why we're doing it, both to people, organisations and the government, to make those changes scale up and make them bigger so that we can work together in the future.
It's all got to be joined up, and I think we've got a real opportunity to make some real headway with creating big habitats. Do things large, and from that we will then create space for nature and biodiversity, but we need to do it now.
Our climate is changing and it's really important that we take action now and plan ahead. That's why at the Environment Agency we have a Thames Estuary 2100 plan that is about managing flood risk in the Thames Estuary all the way through to 2100. We've got those actions mapped out from now until then so that we know collectively with our partners when we need to take those actions. There's a lot of development happening in London and we need to work with that development to make the most of the riverside. So we've set out a riverside strategies approach where we're working with local authorities and communities to have plans in place for the next 30 years, but up until 2100, of what those riversides will look like.
It is essential that we can work in partnership and with a shared vision if we were to make the changes that we need for an improved Thames environment. From the upper reaches and the freshwater marshes out to the outer estuary, we need to work together so that we can have a thriving Thames much more, which protects and supports the people and wildlife that live within it and along its banks.
Without that shared vision, we're going to have fragmented solutions in a fragmented landscape. We need the partners to pull together. We've got these specialisms within the partnership. We need to feed into this clear vision to deliver for nature.
Collaboration is the only way that we can achieve the most for the environment. It's really important that everyone plays their part, and that's why I'm really proud that we can work closely with the PLA to aim for a shared vision for the Thames.